If you don't want to see any spoilers from Epic Universe, then you should look away from your screen right now. We're going to let you know when it's safe to look again, because in today's video, we're going to share our best tips for making the most of your visit to the newest theme park here in Orlando, Epic Universe. And most importantly, we're going to show you how to increase your chances of landing a slot in that coveted virtual line for Harry Potter and the Battle at the Ministry. Let's go do it. Hi, hello everybody. This is Rob with Ear Scouts coming to you from Universal Orlando Resort. I'm not in Epic Universe today. We actually spent the last 2 days at Epic Universe and the Helios Grand Hotel, picking up different tips that we will be able to share with you. And in this video, we're going to share our first batch of tips. Most importantly, the thing that has been confounding so many people coming to Epic Universe, getting a slot in the virtual line for Harry Potter and the Battle at the Ministry. This has definitely been the hottest ticket at Epic Universe, and according to the different team members that we spoke with, there's a very good chance that when you come, you won't even have to bother with this, because their #1 goal is going to be to make this virtual line disappear, to go away. But for right now, they do need to use this virtual line because otherwise they just wouldn't be able to accommodate the number of guests who want to experience this attraction. We do have some other tips that we're going to share a little bit later, but let's start with the one that I'm guessing most of you are here for, and that is how to get that coveted virtual line slot. If you're avoiding spoilers, this is the moment to look at your screen, because we're going to show you some things you need to see. But don't worry, I'm not in Epic right now, so you're not going to see anything that's going to spoil your visit. The very first step, and probably the most important step if you want to get a spot in that virtual line, is you've got to be inside Epic Universe when you're aiming to grab it. Now, you don't have to be inside the Wizarding World. You can be anywhere inside Epic Universe, but if you're not inside the park, it's not going to let you try to get a slot in that virtual line. So step 1, get inside the park. Step 2 is to fire up that Universal Orlando app, and you're going to go and head to the map screen. Up at the top right corner, you're going to see a magnifying glass. Tap on that and then search for the word battle. When you search for that, it should just bring up that one attraction, Harry Potter and the Battle at the Ministry. Now, when you tap in, you might very well see a little button there for you to join the virtual line, but more likely than not, you're either not going to see anything at all, or you're going to see a grayed out icon for joining that virtual line, which means you can't tap into it. Now, if you scroll down a little ways, you'll see the times that Universal is expecting to release batches of spots in that virtual line. But as you're going to see in this video, those are not always the best times to be looking. Now, assuming that when you first tap in, there's no button to join the virtual line, the way you're going to see when it becomes available is you're going to tap back out, and then you're going to tap into the attraction again. So we're just going to keep tapping in and tapping out until hopefully a little blue icon that says virtual line is going to appear and let you tap into it. For us, that actually happened about 14 minutes before the park was scheduled to open. Now remember, it said on that screen that it was going to be 11 o'clock when we were going to see that first batch. But for us, they appeared at 10:46. Now, even if you don't have access to early park admission, we did hear from guests that they were starting to allow folks with just regular entry into the park about 15 to 20 minutes before the park was scheduled to open. So even if you don't have early admission, you might want to get there early in case they start tapping folks in, and then you would also have a chance to potentially grab one of this very first batch of slots. Now, this was a very limited batch. There weren't a lot of them. It was essentially just a batch that was going to allow them to get that line started first thing in the morning. So it was just the first 15 minutes of park time that were available. Now, because there are so few slots, there's a very good chance that when you tap on it, it's going to say that that slot is no longer available. But don't worry, as we're going to show you, you're already one step closer to getting in that virtual line. The important thing here is we do not want to back out from this screen. If we stay in this screen, we are one step ahead of the game. Instead of backing out and coming back in, what we're going to do now is we're going to adjust the members of our party. So we're going to click that plus sign and that minus sign to just increase and decrease the members of our party. And each time that we do that, it's going to refresh. It's going to go back and look for more time slots in that virtual line. Now, this is especially important if you've got a large party, because let's think about it. Let's say you had a group of 8. When you tapped in here, you'd have to press that little plus sign 7 times to get to a party of 8. And at that point, all of those time slots would likely be gone. But when you use this method, you can just kind of go back and forth from 7 to 8 to 7 to 8, and you're refreshing each time you do it. And when those things pop up, you're going to be able to tap in and grab one really quickly. For us, we were just a party of 2, but this still saved us a step because we didn't have to tap in and then start adjusting our party. We were already at the party adjusting stage, which put us one step closer to grabbing that time slot. Now, as you keep adjusting your number, eventually you're going to see some times pop up here. It did say that they were going to initially drop the first batch at 11 o'clock. It actually happened for us at 10:59. So you want to start doing this a little bit early, but as soon as those time slots appear, you want to tap into one of them as quickly as you can. For us, we went ahead and tried to grab the earliest slot, but we did talk to some folks, especially those with larger groups, said that they had more success grabbing a later time slot, just because probably everybody is aiming for the earliest possible time. So if you want your best chances of getting a slot, you might want to aim for one of the later ones. For us, though, we were successful. We were able to get that virtual queue for the very first time slot available, and you'll know that you got it because you're going to see this big QR code appear. And if you're not happy with the time you selected and you're quick about it, you're going to see a button there to modify your time. Go ahead and tap on that. We did, and we were able to successfully modify our time to be a little bit later. You will, however, want to be really quick about this because, again, these time slots are going to be gone in the blink of an eye. If you're not successful, however, remember they are going to be dropping more later in the day, but just like with this first batch, I wouldn't wait until that exact moment. Start looking a little bit before the drop because they can drop early. You also just might want to look anytime that you're waiting in line somewhere. We did talk to some folks who said that they saw the virtual line slots pop up randomly throughout the day. So it's possible that maybe someone cancels their virtual line reservation and maybe that brings it back into the play. But for whatever reason, folks did have some limited success getting virtual lines at random times during the day. That said, if you don't want to be staring at your phone all day, it's probably best to look closer to those advertised drop times. Well, that's it for the virtual line tips. From here on out, though, we're going to be showing some footage of Epic Universe, so look away from the screen if you want to avoid those spoilers. But we're going to share with you some other tips that we picked up during our time at Epic Universe and at the Helios Grand Hotel. We'll start with Helios. This is the hotel that is right there, basically built into Epic Universe. Your hotel is essentially part of the park. The downside to this hotel is that you're paying a premium like you do at some of the other top tier hotels at Universal, but with this one, you don't get access to that free express pass that you get when you stay at those other top tier hotels. So I think they might change that in the future. I certainly hope that they will. But for right now, if you want to get that free express pass included, you're going to have to stay at one of those other top tier hotels like the Royal Pacific or Portofino Bay. While you don't get Express Pass, you do get access to early park admission, and that's a perk that you get when you stay at any of the Universal hotels. The real benefit to staying here, though, in addition to the beautiful views of the park, is that you have your own dedicated entrance to the park right from the hotel. When we were staying there, early park admission was set to begin at 10 a.m. That's because the park opened at 11, but we saw that they were letting folks into the park starting at 8:30 in the morning. So that was a full hour and a half before early park admission and a full 2.5 hours before the park was scheduled to open. Now, once we got inside, we were basically held into an area. We couldn't go anywhere we wanted in the park, but we were essentially already lined up to head to our first destination. So if you do want to be on the front line of folks coming into early park admission, plan to be there about an hour and a half before early park admission begins. Now, we only saw what was happening on our side. We don't know when they were letting folks in at the main entrance up front, but my guess is it was probably a comparable time. So no matter which way you're coming into Epic, I'd recommend getting there an hour and a half early if you're doing early park admission. Another thing that it will help to be early for, if you can possibly manage it, is checking in for your hotel stay. We arrived a little bit after 8 o'clock, and there were only a couple of folks in line ahead of us to check into the hotel. Unfortunately, even with just a couple of folks ahead of us, it took us nearly 40 minutes to get checked in. Now, I imagine that once the hotel has been open longer, they're going to streamline this process a bit. But as the hours went on, that line got longer and longer, and folks were sometimes waiting well over an hour to get checked into their rooms. So if it's at all possible for you to arrive at the hotel, especially at Helios, early, like say 8 o'clock or earlier, that's going to give you your best chance of getting checked in quickly and be able to head out and enjoy your day. Next up, let's talk about some quick tips for enjoying the park itself. Starting with early park admission, it's important to know that the only attractions that are going to be open right now during early park admission are Super Nintendo World and Stardust Racers in that central area of the park called Celestial Park. In Super Nintendo World, you're going to find 3 different attractions. The 2 that have the longest waits later in the day are going to be Minecart Madness and Mario Kart Bowser's Challenge. The tricky part here is, though, that those 2 rides, Minecart Madness and Mario Kart, tend to be breaking down the most. When we did early park admission, we went straight to Mario Kart because that one does tend to have the longest waits. And the good news is we were able to breeze through that queue. It is a gorgeous queue. It's actually my favorite part of that attraction. The bad news is it did not open with the park. It was actually a full 2 hours before Mario Kart got started. Over at Minecart Madness, they also had a delayed opening, but it wasn't as bad as Mario Kart. I mentioned this because if you're doing early park admission, you might not want to make the same mistake we did, which was burning up our entire early park time in line for an attraction that never opened up. I think it's still worth trying to get in those lines, but if they tell you that that attraction is down, it's probably not worth waiting. You should probably get out of that line and go enjoy another attraction instead. Another option you can consider is just enjoy the world itself. It is such a spectacular place to walk around, and especially if you have one of these guys. This is a power-up band I'm going to talk about in just a little bit. There's all kinds of interactive things that you can do and enjoy before the crowds all come into Super Nintendo World when the park opens to regular day guests. If you'd like to start with an attraction that has a higher chance of opening and not going down, I would recommend the Yoshi ride, which is adorable. It's actually my favorite of the rides. Even though it's definitely meant for little kids, it is truly adorable. And if you're a fan of Nintendo and Nintendo characters, you're going to enjoy riding through that one. If you're looking for more of a thrill, though, I would consider staying in Celestial Park and going to do Stardust Racers. That one has been pretty reliable. It tends to open with the park, and it tends to not go down much throughout the day. It's also a really thrilling ride and an exciting way to start your epic adventure. But let's get back to this little guy. This is a power-up band. If you want to save your progress when riding Mario Kart, or you just want to experience all of the cool interactive elements that are throughout Super Nintendo World, this is a great little item to pick up. They are $40, so it's not cheap, but I think it's definitely worth it for huge Nintendo fans. A little bonus that I discovered is that when you get home, you can actually use your power-up band as an amiibo. I used it when I was playing Legend of Zelda, and I have the Toad version, so it's a little mushroom, and appropriately enough, it gave me some free food, including some mushrooms. Moving over to Dark Universe, this is the home of the Universal Monsters. Unfortunately, we did not get to ride the signature attraction here because it was down for almost the entire day. This one does seem to also have issues going down. Hopefully, by the time the park opens and it's no longer in previews, it's going to be a lot more stable. But for right now, I would say if this ride is important to you, you should go ride it as soon as you see it available. My favorite time to be in this world, however, is definitely at night. That is when this world of the park really shines. It just looks so cool when the sun is setting. And right at 8 o'clock, right as the sun had set, we saw the burning windmill come to life. This is super cool, and it happens on the 10s right now. So just like the dragon over at Diagon Alley here at Universal Studios, the burning windmill is a little spectacle that you can see every 10 minutes, and you do see folks lined up with their cell phones ready to go to capture it when it happens. My main tip for Celestial Park, that is the main world that you enter into when you first enter Epic Universe, is to be sure you experience this particular world at night. After the sun sets is when this part of the park looks the most spectacular, especially that amazing carousel that's at the center of Celestial Park. This thing really shines at night. Pun intended. There's also a restaurant in Celestial Park called Atlantic that's a little bit more of a fine dining experience. If you're planning on eating there, I definitely recommend try to get your reservations after dark because it is just spectacular on the inside after the sun sets. As for Isle of Berk, the How to Train Your Dragon Land, I'd recommend visiting this one at the hottest part of the day. That's because there is a ride there called Fire Drill where you very well may get soaked. It's a fun little boat ride where you shoot water guns at targets, and as best as I could tell, if you missed your targets fired water back at you. So if you don't have the best aim, you might end up getting really soaked on that ride. We did it at the very end of the night, which wasn't ideal because it had started to get a little bit cooler and we were drenched. My biggest tip for Epic Universe, however, is to make sure that you're prioritizing your time just exploring this park. Yes, of course, you're going to want to do as many of the rides as you can, but for us, the best part of Epic Universe wasn't the rides themselves, it was the worlds that Universal has created surrounding those rides. In many cases, the queue was more spectacular than the ride itself. And I don't mean that as an insult. We still enjoyed riding the rides, but just be prepared to spend more of your time than you might expect wandering and just kind of enjoying the atmosphere of this park. Well, that's all of the Epic Universe tips we have so far, but we're going to be going back to the park and we're going to have more tips for you soon. In fact, we're planning a really exciting video for opening weekend. We're going to try to do every single thing there is to do in Epic Universe in one day without using express passes. I'm going to be honest, I'm not entirely sure it's going to be possible, but we're going to have a great time trying. So if you want to see that video, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring that bell, and that way you'll be notified as soon as it comes out. Before we go, I do want to give a huge thank you to our Patreon family. Thank you so much for supporting what we do here at Ear Scouts. If you'd like to join them and get access to exclusive bonus content, including our early review of the Helios Grand Hotel, head on over to patreon.com/Ear Scouts. Until next time, don't forget to think happy thoughts, everybody. We'll see you again real soon.